Dun, dun, dun. All night. You know what we gotta do. Positivity. Ow, I don't know why I was gonna do that. Hello. Welcome back to .NET Phillies. We have a packed show today. We got headlines. We got the series review of the Braves, when a series in which the Phillies split. We have the series preview against the Mets, and we are unveiling a brand new segment on the podcast to wrap it up. So, got plenty to look forward to, plenty to talk about. However, we got to get through the good, bad, the ugly of the Atlanta Braves series. I would say there was more good than bad. I think the Phillies played extremely well in a ballpark and against the team that they have had not a lot of success. Well, Jared, they just beat them in the NLDS. Yeah, they sucked against them in the regular season. But it was good to see them battle in every single game, even in the last game of the series, in which they got blown out in the Dylan Covey start, which who saw that coming? It was a very encouraging series, and a series that I hope the Phillies can really kind of like a takeoff point. And I mentioned that in the last episode about how I thought the Bohm walk off was going to be a jumping off point, and I do think this series was more positive than it was negative in the split. So, listen, if it's a 3-game series, they won the series. There you go. But let's get right into it with some headlines. We have Derek Hall and Christian Pache both beginning rehab assignments in low A, which is huge for this team. Derek Hall played the first 4 games and then got hurt. So it's good. Going to be good to have him back soon. Even though it's going to be interesting to see what they do with Derek Hall, because you would have to send Cody Clemens down. Or if you want to DFA Josh Harrison, which please, for the love of God, do that. Please, 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 please DFA Josh Harrison. I can't take him anymore. He is useless. But it's interesting to see what they'll do there. You then have Christian Pache, who, I've roasted before in this podcast, and I think everybody remembers that, but he hit the ball extremely well before the injury in the Astros series. So good to see the team getting a little healthier. Speaking of, you have Jose Alvarado through a bullpen session yesterday, and apparently it went very well. He will continue to pitch, still looking at a mid-June return for Alvarado. And even with Alvarado out, they have the second best team bullpen ERA in the league, which is, didn't know that was allowed. And if you look at the ERAs of the guys in there, you wouldn't expect that. But the bullpen has been more good than bad. But when they're bad, they're really bad. But when they're good, they're really good. So interesting there. Noah Song was transferred to the 60-day IL. For those of you who don't know who Noah Song is, he is the Phillies Rule 5 draft pick. They picked him up from the Red Sox, and he was enlisted in the Navy. And the Phillies clearly didn't expect him to be ready this year to transfer out of the Navy because they kind of panicked. So through him, I don't think this is a real IL stint. I think this is a phantom IL stint, so he can stay on the team, but he has to be on the active roster for, I think, at least 90 days or something like that to be retained by the Phillies. So I'm interested to see what they do there. I'll talk about that once we get into the new segment because it kind of ties in. There was some news today, some potential targets for the Phillies to pick up. Jesus Aguilar and Luke Voit were both DFA'd by their respective teams, Aguilar of the A's and Voit of the Brewers. I did talk about them at the beginning of the year when Hoskins went down, who can kind of be his replacement. I would prefer Jesus Aguilar over Luke Voit only because Aguilar is hitting 280 against left-handed pitching this season. And the Phillies statistically are one of the worst teams against left-handers in the league. So adding an extra thump in that lineup in the form of Jesus Aguilar, I think will do wonders for this team. On the flip side, you have Luke Voit, who sucks against lefties. However, he's hitting 343 against right-handed pitching. So if the Phillies are going to target one of those guys, I would prefer Jesus Aguilar. I think he would blend very well into this team. and be a guy that can kind of be the bridge until Derek Hall's back, or if they want to stick with him, you can then have Bohm at third if you want to platoon him and Derek Hall, lefty righty, which that would work actually. So it would be interesting to see if Dave Dombrowski goes after either of these guys. So we'll have to just wait and see. Now let's get right into the Atlanta Braves. Taking a drink. And you can judge me however you want for that cup. That cup was a gift from Ashlyn's parents to me. And by gift, I mean I asked them for it. So, and this was the best option. So judge me as you may. So game one, the Phillies were defeated. Oh, I hated that. Game one, the Phillies lost 8-5. Defeated? Who the hell am I? And it was a very frustrating game. It was a game in which Aaron Nola went 6 innings, 5 earned runs. It was a constant push and pull. The Phillies went toe to toe offensively with that Atlanta Braves team. And it was a frustrating start. You had Austin Riley with a couple home runs, and I need to see Austin Riley's numbers against the Phillies, because it is, no matter how bad he is, he will always crush the Phillies, which I thought we were done with that in the Braves. I thought once Freddie Freeman was gone, but of course, you go to Chipper Jones and then you go to Freddie Freeman, and now we're at Austin Riley. So that's just awesome. He kind of killed us, and then Bohm ties it in the second with that 2-run shot, which I'm so happy to see. That power, he's driving the ball a little bit more. We even saw in that walk-off in Arizona, or not in Arizona, against Arizona, he drove that ball significantly well to right field, and I honestly feel like he didn't even try. Like, he was just trying to put the ball in play, and he was able to do that. So it's good to see Bohm driving the ball a little more. You then had Marcell Ozuna had a solo home run. So you had Stott in the second inning as well. Gave the Phillies a lead 3-2, and then Nola gave the run right back. And then we got to the fourth, and Michael Harris had a sac fly, and then Harper in the fifth tied it up again. And then Austin Riley again gave the Atlanta lead, and then the Phillies tied it up again. And then it all kind of crumbled in the eighth inning with Gregory Soto. And we'll get to Soto in a second, but it was one of those games where, you see Nola in Atlanta against this Atlanta Braves team, like, you know what you're going to get. It's going to be a frustrating start, and Nola has been very, very frustrating. He's the most frustrating good pitcher that I've ever seen. I think Jack Fritz on Twitter or WIP said that this is a very 09 Hamels season from Nola. Meaning, you have a couple bad starts and then you have a couple good ones, and you think that's okay, the bad's behind them, and then another bad one. And then it's just going to be, I think, a lost season for Aaron Nola. I hope it's not, because this team's success hinges a lot on him being good. But at the same time, then, you get to, he's in his walk year. Do you sign him cheaper because of this performance? What have you done for me recently? Maybe the underlying numbers could knock the contract down if you want to sign him long term. Do you let him walk? Do you trade him? A lot of questions surrounding Aaron Nola right now, but Sir Anthony had a clean inning afterwards, which again, I hope he can kind of build on that. He's, I think, been more good than bad. It's just mechanics can be off sometimes, and you can kind of tell when Sir Anthony comes in, when he hasn't, when he doesn't. You can tell, mechanically. Then we get to Soto. He went 2/3 of an innings, 4 hits, 3 earned runs, 1 walk, and a strikeout. He kind of got pinched a little bit by the home plate umpire. And I'll say this about Soto. Soto has been more good than bad. Yes, his ERA is in the 5s, but this is off Twitter, and I apologize. I didn't write down the source, but this is what Soto looks like. He's had 20 scoreless appearances, 4 outings of 3+ earned runs, and 1 outing of 1 earned run. He has been good. Like, Gregory Soto is, again, been more good than bad. It's just inconsistent. And that has been the constant theme of this entire team. I talked about it with Taijuan Walker. I talked about it with Craig Kimbrel, and we'll get to Kimbrel when we're talking about game 2. They've been more good than bad, but when they're bad, they're really bad, and it hurts this team. And it's just, what are you going to do? What version of Gregory Soto? I didn't fully understand the pitch I didn't fully understand the pick. I did not fully understand the pitch mix that he had going into that eighth inning. He was doing the sidestep more on, on full counts. And, dude, you have 98 in the tank. Just try to blow it by him. Here's my stuff. Hit it if he can. Like, I don't know. It was just a lot of mechanic stuff was weird with him in that outing. You could tell he didn't have it, and he was trying to work through it and figure it out, but it just didn't work out. Clearly. And then Hoffman came in to finish out that eighth inning. Again, they went toe to toe with one of the best teams in not only the league, but in not only in the National League, but in the entire MLB. And I thought they performed very well. I think the pitching let them down clearly in their ace, which I think is a 2 at this point. I wouldn't call Nola an ace so far. He's been the number 2. And the pitching let you down in this one with Nola, but the offense kind of battled back for him. But then Soto just blew up in the eighth inning. It kind of got killed, and it sucks. I mean, again, it sucks, but again, you got to look at it in the grand scheme of things. It could have been worse. Not really. That was a dumb take by me, but anyway, get the game 2. There's a lot of stuff happening. My dog's running around upstairs. You probably can't hear it, but it's just, you can hear his nails and he's running into stuff. He's a big bulldog and he's just an idiot. And he's running around and doing absolute outrageous things at this time of day. Anyway, game 2, the Phillies won 6-4. My player of the game has to be Craig Kimbrell, because he recorded his 400th save. So congratulations to him. He's one of 8 players in baseball history to reach that feat. And I thought it was ironic that his first career save was against the Phillies for a member of the Braves, and his 400th was as a member of the Phillies against the Braves. So congratulations to him. You had Taijuan Walker on the bump. He went 6 2/3, 10 hits, 3 runs, 1 walk, 1 strikeout. So pretty solid. The 10 hits is something you'd like to go down a little bit, but listen, if they're getting the hits and they're not scoring the runs, then you can give up 15 hits if it's still 0 on the board, which was good to see. You had the Alec Bohm play. I forget what inning it was it was early. It was the second inning, I believe. It was second and third, 1 out or nobody out. And I think Albies or somebody hit the grounder to Bohm. He tagged first and then threw across the diamond. And for some reason, Marcell Ozuna was hopping off the bag on an infield hit and got tagged out. So shout out to Marcell Ozuna for being just one of the most amazing human beings in baseball. That's sarcasm, obviously. He's a piece of garbage human on and off the field. Sucks on both ends. So, and then we get to my, can we please DFA Josh Harrison? He's hitting 172, has a 463 OPS. Not slugging, not, OPS. A 463 OPS. Can we stop? Can we stop rolling Josh Harrison out here? Can we just get him off the team, for God's sakes? Like, he's done nothing but hurt this team. Those stats are still being carried when he had, like, the 5-hit game against the White Sox. That's it. Other than that, he's been atrocious, so get him out. Then we got the scoring happening in the third. Castellanos had an RBI triple. He was this close from hitting it out. And then had a shutdown inning, which didn't know that was allowed. I thought the new league rules banned shutdown innings. You had an Eddie Rosario in the fourth to make it 2-1. And then Michael Harris, the second, who stinks, by the way, had the 2-run home run. And then Atlanta goes up, and you're thinking to yourself, you're like, oh, here we go again. Like, just can't figure out how to win in Atlanta. What are you doing? What are you doing? The fighting said, hold my beer. I got this. You then had Marsh RBI single in the 6th to make it 4-3. You then had Turner had an RBI double in the 7th to make it 5-3. And then Harper had a sac fly in the 7th to make it 6-3. Insurance runs. Didn't know that was allowed. So, and then Marcell Ozuna, a piece of garbage human being, had a solo home run in the 8th to make it 6-4. And that was your final. So, looking at a guy who kind of impressed me the most was Trey Turner. He has looked a lot better, and yes, his numbers are still not great. However, I'm looking at more in the if you look at him, if the eye test that you have of players, he looks like that the bat is not trying to generate power. It looks like it's going more to contact. He's hitting the ball the other way a little more. He's not trying to pull everything. It looks like he's being faster, running down the line. It looks like even when he's on base, he's making it hard for the pitchers, because it just feels like we're getting Trey Turner that we paid for, which is awesome to see. So keep an eye out for Trey Turner being Trey Turner again. So fingers crossed. You also have Matt Strahm have an inning and a third, 1 hit, 1 earned run, which was a solo home run to Ozuna, and a strikeout. And I've said it once, I'll say it again, and I'll probably say it a gazillion other times before for the end of the year. Matt Strahm has been the best signing the Phillies have made. In every spot, he reminds me of Ranger in 2021, where no matter what role you put him in, he's going to succeed. He's going to throw strikes. He's going to get outs. So shout out to Matt Strahm. And then obviously the aforementioned Craig Kimbrel closing it out. I was so worried when that game was on and he had 2 outs, got 2 quick outs. Then he walked the 9-hitter. I think it was Harris. Walks Harris, and then Acuna comes up, and I'm like, oh, no, he's going to. It wasn't a matter of how far is this ball going to go, not if he's going to hit a home, because we've seen this movie 1,000 times with the Phillies and the Braves, that they get the lead, they battle back, they play really well, and then they fold in the later innings when the bullpen's in there. But Kimbrel was able to get him the ground out to third, and Josh Harrison bobbled it because he sucks at baseball, but he got the save. So again, congratulations to Craig Kimbrel for 400 saves. We'll give a round of applause for Mr. Kimbrel. And like I've said before, he's been more good than bad. I like Craig. I think he stepped into that closer's role once Alvarado got hurt, and I think he's been pretty comfortable back there. So very good to see. Another guy who's looking to be turning the corner is Brandon Marsh. He looks just a lot more comfortable. Doesn't at the plate. He's not swinging as much stuff. He's making contact. He's making pitchers work. I think Marsh is looking to is heating up again, which is going to be huge for this offense, because he was in a bad slump, and, we were starting to throw Dalton Guthrie out there. And I've said it before, Dalton Guthrie is not a major league player right now. He's a fine late inning defensive replacement, but as soon as Pache is back, it's going to be Pache who's going to be the outfielder on any given night where Marsh isn't playing. And that kind of reminds me that Rob Thompson, I should have mentioned this in the headlines. Rob Thompson did mention that Harper wouldn't be playing first base until after the All-Star break. So the idea of having Pache either in left field or right field and Schwarber or Castellanos DHing and Harper at first, kind of a pipe dream, for at least for the foreseeable future. But Pache, I'm sure, is going to be fine on the bench like he was before he got hurt, which is, again, is a sentence I never thought I'd say, but credit where credit is due. And Game 3, I would argue, was the best start by a Phillies starter this year. The Phillies won 2-1. Player of the game is Zach freaking Wheeler. Zach Wheeler goes 8 innings, 3 hits, no earned runs, 1 walk, 12 strikeouts. I think the key takeaway from this Zach Wheeler start is he was attacking hitters and maintained velocity throughout the entire duration of the game. I'm not going to sit here and say Zach Wheeler is back to being Zach Wheeler. Now, if he builds off this and goes 7 innings, 1 run in his next start, then I'd be like, okay, I think Zach Wheeler is back to being Zach Wheeler. And I've said it once, I'll say it again, and I feel like it's a constant theme throughout this episode is me repeating myself. I trust Zach Wheeler to return the form more than I do to Aaron Nola. I think Zach Wheeler is going to be the next guy to kind of age like a fine wine, like a Justin Verlander, like a Max Scherzer, like a Zach Greinke, like a... I don't know. Those are the prime examples, but I would screw it. Throw Nate Eovaldi in there. He's old, kind of, sort of, latter half of his career, maybe. Or Charlie Morton. That's a guy. There you go. That kind of guy who, no matter how old he is, he's still going to be able to get outs at 96, 97. I just feel like that's the type of guy Zach Wheeler is. And his ERA to start this game was 4.11, and now he's down to a 6.3, which is ginormous for him. So I'm very, very happy that Zack Wheeler is almost there. I'm not willing to sit here and say, like, yes, Zack Wheeler is going to be, our ace. He's going to be the guy that's going to lead us to the promised land. And yes, it's the pardon me. And yes, it's the idea. That's why we paid him $100 million. Oh my God, excuse me. That's why we paid him $100 million. But it's good to see him turning the page. Hopefully, fingers crossed. I think my favorite player, and I mentioned him earlier, was a player right now might be Cody Clemens. Cody Clemens is hitting the hell out of the ball in limited playing time, and I think he's being rewarded with more playing time, especially because the Phillies, they said this at the beginning of the year, they view Alec Bohm more as a third baseman than they do a first baseman, and Bohm obviously has been playing a lot of first base with Sosa and Harrison kind of platooning third base at any given day. So I think if Cody Clemens continues to hit the way he has been, there's no reason why he shouldn't be in the lineup every single day. You got to ride the hot hand, especially with the way this offense has been recently. You got to ride the hot hand with Cody Clemens, which is a sentence I never thought I'd say. But he's making my Cody Clemens guys to look out for take at the beginning of the year look very, very smart right now. I just saw the makeup. I saw the a lot of stuff mechanically that I thought Kevin Long could fix, and there's a good player in there. So I think Cody Clemens has been very good and very serviceable. Obviously, he didn't start out that way, and I've made TikToks about it, but he has definitely turned the corner, in my opinion. I'm a big Cody Clemens guy right now. Again, I don't have the numbers. Let me pull up the numbers for Cody Clemens because I think he deserves this recognition because he has been that good. Cody Clemens. Okay, so Cody Clemens this year. So he's hitting. Let me go to advanced hitting. Shout out to Baseball Reference. Advanced batting splits 2023. So that's just stupid. In the last 28 days that Cody Clemens has played baseball, that's 13 games. That's 40 plate appearances. He's hitting 306, 370. In the past 13 starts or 9 starts that Cody Clemens has made, that's 9 starts in 28 days. He's slashing 306, 375, 472, and an 847 OPS with 1 home run. He had 1 home run and 11 strikeouts. Like, he's not striking out that much. Like, I am a big believer in Cody Clemens. I think he is going to be a very important asset to this team, obviously, because they traded for him. So very interested to see where Cody Clemens, what the ceiling for him is. So we'll just have to wait and see. Scoring wise, you had Stott with a sac fly in the 5th and Turner with another RBI double to make it 2-0. And then you bring in Kimbrel for the 9th inning, 2-0. Sean Murphy turns on a ball that I didn't think could have been turned on. Like, the ball was literally like at his stomach, but he was somehow able to turn on it and hit it 400 feet. And I'm like, here we freaking go. Here we go. Let's blow the Zack Wheeler gem. Typical Phillies, but luckily they didn't. They closed it out, and it was awesome. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on game 4 because the game kind of went exactly how I expected it to be. Not Britton Covey, that's the Eagles punter. Dylan Covey gets his first start in a Phillies uniform, proceeds to give up 7 earned runs in 2/3 of an inning, which, if you think about it, isn't that good. So, and then, you had Brogdon giving up 3 runs. And I will say about this, and we'll talk about that now. So, the Phillies' 5th starter spot is a problem, and I think that's a glaring issue for everybody, and I think that's not a hot take. I don't think that's anything like that. I think that is just a matter of fact, is the Phillies' 5th starter spot is a big, big hole in this team. They haven't won a 5th starter spot start in a while. They're like 1-9, I believe, and it's just been terrible. You had Bailey Falter, then you had, the Matt Strom, Dylan Covey, whatever, and then you had Covey. Like, it just has been bad. I think they're fast tracking Griff McGarry to come up here, and maybe he can spark this team to be like, hey, guy, we like let's do this. Like maybe if the pitchers are like, oh my god, I can't let the young guy show me up, and then they light a fire under them and be like, yeah. And obviously, the pitching staff as a whole, I'm talking more so the starters. The bullpen has been good, has been really, really good. The starters have been bad. Nola, we talked about him. Wheeler, I think, is turning the corner. Walker, I think, has turned the corner and is going to give you more quality starts than blow-ups. Ranger, I'm still giving him a bit of a leash. I'm not willing to say that, he is bad or back or whatever. I think Ranger just needs a little bit more time to adjust. Then you get to the fifth starter. You go with McGarry maybe. Mick Abel still has control problems, so you probably want to fix that before you call him up. Painter is still dealing with his elbow issues. You have Bailey Falter in the minors still. You have Chris Sanchez. You tried Eric Ullman. Not good. There's no guys really in Lehigh Valley right now that I'm looking at and going, yeah, let me bring that guy up. That could spark us, other than the big three in Mick Abel, Griff McGarry, and Andrew Painter. It just, I don't know what you do. I don't know what's out there on the open market. I wish that Dave Dombrowski looked at another fifth starter. But I understand why they went with Bailey Falter in the fifth starter spot, because like I said before, Bailey Falter was really good at the back end of the year. And I think from an organization standpoint, they thought that was, the bad was figured out with Bailey Falter. You knew what you were going to get. Obviously that hasn't been the case. It's kind of biting them now. You could have looked at a Cole Hamels, Nate Eovaldi, or even a Michael Wacha or Rich Hill or somebody that could eat innings. I was never going to bring back Kyle Gibson. I know everybody's and same thing with Zach Eflin. I think for the price tag, maybe not Gibson, but I just never wanted to see Kyle Gibson start a baseball game for my team again. I wasn't paying Zach Eflin that money. And Zach Eflin's been good this year for Tampa Bay, which shocking. But, you got to look at teams who might be selling. A team like the Reds, you have Lodolo there, who has been awful in the month of May. He had a really strong April, but the May, he has like a 7+ ERA. So could you get him at a low price? Could you look at, see what the A's have, maybe a Blackburn, or I don't know who else. I know, speaking of, former Phils, you have Cole Irvin, who's sitting in the Orioles system right now. Could you look to him? I'm just thinking of guys who, being Liam Hendricks, or not Liam Hendricks. Yeah, no. Who's the guy on the Cubs? It's not Liam Hendricks. It's Liam Hendricks is not who I'm thinking of. Who am I thinking of? It might, no, it's not. No, it's the pitcher on the Cubs. Kyle Hendricks, that's it. Kyle Hendricks on the Cubs. Is he a guy you could look at? The Cubs kind of might be in for a little bit of a sale, especially with an aging guy like him. You need to fix the problem because it's a glaring hole in this team, and you can't fix it with duct tape. So that's just something to keep note of. Then, it was just, you had Schwarber with a homer, you had Marsh with a homer, which again I talked about Marsh heating up and looking more like himself. You saw he's driving the ball against Strider, and the Phillies saw Strider well last night. It just sucks that Covey gave up the 7 runs, because I really thought, that was going to be a very competitive game, but unfortunately it wasn't. It was kind of a blowout, a laugher for the Braves. So what are you going to do? Can't you split the series? I said take 1 down in Atlanta and I'd be happy. So we then are ready to unveil the brand new segment on the pod. So every week I will be looking at, since I talked about the bullpen being really, really good, I kind of want to take a walk down memory lane and see where we've come from. And so I've compiled a list of every Phillies reliever from 2018 to 2021, the competitive years I put him in, and kind of give, stats when they were with the Phillies. Where are they now? And kind of just take a little trip down memory lane. I want to give a shout out to Matt Saporsky for this segment idea. This was not an original idea, but I want to give a shout out to Matt for the idea. Like I said, I'll be looking at 3 Phillies relievers from any of those years and just talking about them a little bit. So starting out hot, we're going to look at Heath Hembree. And we all remember the Brandon Workman, Heath Hembree for Nick Pivetta trade back in 2020. So Heath Hembree spent half of the 2020 season with the Phillies, and his stats with the Phillies were 11 games, and obviously it was a shortened 60-game season in 2020. 9 1/3, 17 hits, 13 earned runs, 5 walks, 10 strikeouts to the tune of a 12.54 ERA. I hated Heath Hembree, and then since his departure from the Phillies, he has spent time with the New York Mets, the Cincinnati Reds, Pittsburgh Pirates, Los Angeles Dodgers, and is currently in the Tampa Bay Rays system. And, listen, Heath, buddy, you had some good years with the Red Sox, but then since 2020, he has pitched in 81 1/3 innings, 71 hits, 54 earned runs, 42 walks, 102 strikeouts to the tune of a 5.98 ERA. So not great for Mr. Hembree, but knowing the Rays and what they do, they'll fix him, and he'll be back to being the guy he was on the Red Sox. And now we get to honestly, one of the more underrated guys on this list, a guy who I didn't think was that bad. I kind of liked the move when they picked him off waivers from the Reds. I thought he has a career 2.94 ERA, which didn't know didn't know he was that good. But the guy who was from the infamous JT Realmuto meme, Jared Hughes, shares the same name as me, has that goofy stare. We all remember Mr. Hughes. He spent some of 2019 with the Phillies, and his stats: 25 games, 23 innings pitched, 16 hits, 10 earned runs, 6 walks, 20 strikeouts to the tune of a 3.91 ERA. Like I said, he wasn't bad. He wasn't terrible. Like, if he's on this Phillies team now, he's like a guy who's like a mop-up duty guy, not a guy you would want in high leverage situations, which he was at that time with that Phillies team. He's a guy you throw in when you're up 7-2 to just get innings and get outs. But after the Phillies, he spent time with the Mets, the Reds. Excuse me, I'm looking at Mr. Hembree. After the Phillies, he spent time with the Mets in 2020. And in 2020 with the Mets, 22 1/3, 23 hits, 12 earned runs, 14 strikeouts, 14 walks, 21 strikeouts to the tune of a 4.84 ERA. Then he retired in 2021. So congrats on retirement, Mr. Hughes, and thank you for your time with the Philadelphia Phillies. And then we get to a guy that has not pitched since 2020 because of how terrible he was in 2020. We get to Juan Nicasio. He was a guy that was traded here from Seattle in the J.P. Crawford, Carlos Santana trade. It was J.P. Crawford and Carlos Santana to the Mariners in exchange for Gene Segura, Juan Nicasio, and James Pazos. James Pazos, who is that? Never pitched a game for the Phillies. Had a killer mustache, though. So, and Juan Nicasio, this was actually his second stint with the Phillies. His first was in 2017. He only threw an inning, so I'm not adding in those stats. So his 2019 with the Phillies, 47 games, 47 1/3 innings pitched, 57 hits, 27 earned runs, 21 walks, 45 strikeouts to the tune of a 4.75 ERA. And then after the Phillies, he went to the Rangers in 2020. And in 2 games, he went an inning and a third, 5 hits, 6 earned runs, 2 walks, and a strikeout to a 40.50 ERA. And he hasn't pitched since 2020. So I hope that you people, that sounds bad. I hope that my lovely audience enjoys this new segment because it ain't going anywhere. We don't know who's going to be next. I'm probably just going to spin a wheel, pick 3 names out. I have a spreadsheet of the list of every single reliever on there, and I'm just checking them off, checking them off, checking them off, checking them off. So if you guys like this, and maybe I can do it with the hitters, look at the lineup, see where they're at now. I could do that as well, just to add something a little, so it's not the same thing. Add something a little spicy to the end of the episodes. But now we have a series preview. We are playing the New York Metropolitans for the first time all year, and the Mets are kind of in a similar situation as us, extremely underwhelming, underperforming at the wazoo. So we have pitching wise, we have Ranger Suarez versus Kodai Senga. We have Aaron Nola versus Carlos Carrasco. And then the rubber match, we have Taijuan Walker versus Max Scherzer. Just take one and build off of that. If you take game one, try to take game two. If you lose game one, take game two. If you lose the first two, you need to avoid the sweep. Just get one out there in Queens, and I'd be happy. Try to capitalize and realize you can beat good teams. And I think this Phillies team is perfectly capable of beating these good teams. And like I said, the Mets are underperforming right now, but so are the Phillies. So it's go time. Take one game at a time, one day at a time, and I think we'll be fine. But that's going to do it for me. Thank you guys for listening. Follow all socials below. I am going to be back. My work schedule is a little wonky this week. Probably Friday to talk about the Mets series and then preview the National series probably as it's going on. So I'll be back Friday to talk about the Mets series. So thank you guys again for watching, and I will see you then.